Hi, so my name is Tom Voden. I'm the VP of Commercial at Bridge.
Hi, I'm James Carpenter. I'm the European Head of Click to Pay at Visa. For me, this is kind of the crux of the challenges that we have in digital commerce. So you have something that has a positive beta, right? Like the more transactions you get, the more risk that you get. And this is a problem for consumers, merchants, and issuers as well. Striking the right balance, I think, requires somebody who kind of sits in the middle of the ecosystem who can solve this multi-sided problem. One way that we're doing it at Visa is we're taking strong payment credentials, we're tying those to your biometric identity using Visa payment passkeys, and we're distributing those down to the point of purchase via Click to Pay. So with this, we have a distribution channel for a strong payment credential that's linked to your identity that allows you to check out seamlessly and quickly, but at the same time, giving merchants and issuers confidence that the payer is who they actually say that they are. So by using kind of these three products in conjunction with one another, we can actually solve that problem, increase transactions, but simultaneously dramatically drive down fraud in the ecosystem. So for merchants, we're already seeing a lot of the benefits out there, more throughput, significantly less fraud, happier customers.
And I think orchestration and Bridge adds to that, right? The problem that merchants have is they want to enable all of these products and these functionalities. They also want to enable a whole host of other products, functionalities, and they want them to work with their existing payment stack. So they want them to work with their gateways, their acquirers. Ultimately, that's a lot of technology uplift for them to do if they're going to do that all themselves. So what Bridge and orchestration does is sit one layer in front of that. We aggregate scheme products, so we aggregate Visa Click to Pay, but also network tokenization, also third-party fraud services, and then other payment methods which actually offer different types of security and payment experiences for the customer, all through that one single connection. So it's kind of bringing all those best bits, inclusive of the Visa offerings, into the one connection for the customer.
There's this entire ecosystem of solutions out there, and we need to figure out ways in which we actually bundle them and give them to consumers, to give them to merchants, issuers, all through very simple to implement connection points. And so I think absolutely this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to take the power of the Visa network, work with really strong partners to figure out how do we bundle this up and how do we distribute it down to who needs it in the most logical way. So I completely agree. Yeah, it's a good question. Just coming down in the elevator, there's an ad on the wall. It's showing a checkout page with 100 different buttons on it, and we as payments people understand the value that each of these offer. But I think for consumers, it can become overwhelming, right? And so one of the things that we're trying to do with Click to Pay is just simplify the guest checkout experience, right? You as a consumer could have a million different experiences at a million different merchants with a million different options. But if we can create a standardized wrapper that exposes your payment credentials the same way kind of everywhere, you start to have this unified experience. And you don't necessarily have to wonder about all of the different ways in which you can pay. We can also then take this wrapper and use it as a trusted distribution channel, so consumers know that if something's within the Click to Pay wrapper, it is a trusted payment product that they can select from. I think in the future too, you're also going to see kind of this move from retrieval to generation, right? So rather than me picking a payment option or selecting a payment option, the payment options that might be the best for me in that context could be potentially surfaced to me. So I may choose something, but in a certain context, it's not actually there because it's not in my best interest. So I generally think that these types of products in the distribution channel via Click to Pay creates a simplified way for consumers to get that best possible payment product in real time.
I think, so Bridge, we work across multiple merchant verticals. Actually, what we see is not only the merchant expectation, but the consumer expectation of how they want to check out based on the scenario that they're in makes a real difference. For example, in travel, you're potentially paying for a very expensive holiday, and you're going to take time through that process to do it. And actually, the demographic who might be doing that might be slightly older and may not necessarily want to split that into installments or pay with a way that's only mobile based. Ultimately, what we're trying to do at Bridge is make sure that we can personalize the checkout, not only for our merchants but also for those end consumers. So actually offer our merchant customers the ability to offer different checkout experiences for different demographics or different parts of their business. And if you took that slightly older customer buying a luxury holiday, actually what they really want is that trust and security. They know that Click to Pay is supported by their issuing bank, the one that they've probably used for most of their life. they potentially provision their card through their banking app, and therefore they know they can really trust that to make a high value purchase, and they're doing it on card, so they get all of that associated kind of protection and benefit as well. Yeah. So I think that's why we see Click to Pay fitting so nicely into that suite of kind of personalization in the checkout that Bridge is offering.
And one thing to add on that too, and I think one of the values of Click to Pay is, as an ecosystem standard, we're able to democratize that for everybody. So, not just those with the most expensive new devices or shop at specific merchants. I mean, everybody has access, irrespective of where you bank, which device you're on, or where you're shopping. You can have that same real-time, safe, secure experience. We want to increase turnover and we want to decrease risk, and in practice, this is exactly what we're seeing with Click to Pay. We're seeing about 10% auth uplift, so more transactions coming through, and a 90% reduction in fraud. So what we're seeing is, because consumers can check out so quickly and easily, verifying their identity using a biometric, there's more probability of purchase for merchants, so more transactions, happier customers, and significantly less fraud.
I think from our side, what we're seeing is that merchants are choosing to work with orchestrators like Bridge because they want to make their lives easier from a technology perspective, but also what they want to do is, for example, make sure that they're getting the highest conversion rates possible, the highest authorization rates possible, whilst not kind of substituting the fraud risk and the fraud side of things. And actually the nice thing about Click to Pay is it really aligns with our ethos to do all of those things, right? It provides a very simple, remembered checkout experience for customers that drives conversion, so it stops that kind of customer drop-off, it drives authorization rates, and ultimately it's not doing it at the risk of increasing fraud. And when you layer it up with the stuff that we're doing around network tokenization and all the different kind of other payment options that we can provide in the checkout as well, ultimately what we're giving at Bridge in partnership with Click to Pay is ultimately all of the right tools to drive that high conversion authorization and not substitute that kind of risk side of things at the same time. We are seeing like a load of our merchant customers ultimately asking for, or being sold to actually, tons of different payment methods, and they're all promising one click, they're all promising simplicity, they're all promising to do that in a very safe, secure way. I think the problem with that from a merchant perspective is, who do you choose to go with, right? Is it really realistic, even using an orchestrator like Bridge, to enable 20 simple payment methods in the checkout? No, it's not great, because that's a lot of relationships to manage, it's a lot of technology to manage, and actually from a consumer perspective, it's really confusing. And a lot of consumers won't know if they can trust those providers as well. They might be new payment methods they've never seen before, and a new experience that they're having to go through they've never seen before, which involves clunky sign-ups and all that kind of stuff. Actually, the reason that we really love the Click to Pay product at Bridge is because it's one single product that's powered by ultimately the entities at the heart of the ecosystem, the schemes, and working with Visa as such a trusted name in that. But not only Visa, the issuing banks as well that the consumers bank with and that they're used to and that they trust. Actually, you can kind of do away with a lot of that real complexity that we're starting to see in some parts of the merchant checkout, and actually just simplify it into that one option that, as I say, drives all of those things that consumers really want, whilst not creating too much complexity for them or the merchant. And ultimately, if you enable that via an orchestrator, even better, because then it's simple from a technology perspective.
Yeah, I mean, taking it maybe up a level, kind of the existential point is, like, in the past, everyone's kind of tried to go it themselves, right? So even Visa is guilty of this with V.me and Visa Checkout. So you end up with a lot of extra fragmentation in the ecosystem, a lot of single-purpose wallets or single-purpose payment options, and it's really not what consumers are asking for, right? And we see a history of all of these different deployments, whether it's coalitions of merchants or specific partners, and none of them really can challenge what's already natively on your device. And so the way that we actually move forward here is by partnering. It's the only solution, is to get everybody together in an ecosystem standard and to deliver something that's accessible to everybody. Not the richest billion people with the nicest phone in the world, but everybody actually getting access to it. And I think too, this is one of the value that Visa brings as a network, is we can bring so many different products and partners together. Appreciate the partner, perfect example of it. Wouldn't be standing here if that wasn't the path forward for us all.